This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I'm on the line with David Dodge. He comes to us from St. Louis, Missouri. This guy is a wholesaling fool. But then again, someone used the word fool too loosely. The guy's really pretty smart. Hence the reason why he's on the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. Okay, so David, before we get started, I got to pay homage to my sponsor. Please go to taxfreefuture.com and look at the 37 videos. If you don't have a self-directed IRA or tax-deferred or tax-free way to grow your investments or your financial future, you have no idea of the size of the tool you are missing out of your tool belt. So please go to taxfreefuture.com, because you will not believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. And we're going to tell you what they're not telling you, and we're going to tell you why they're not telling you. It's all going to make perfect sense, and you will go to the next rung on the ladder in speed and knowledge. So with no further ado, let's talk with David Dodge. How you doing, David?
Hey, I'm doing good, Mitch. Thanks for having me. Good morning to you, buddy. Good morning.
I like this guy's enthusiasm, man. He's really up. He's like, I need to drink some more coffee. I got to catch up with this guy. So I was looking at your bio, and you know, one of the things I want you to talk about is, you said it took you 4 months to get started to do your first deal, and it really shouldn't have.
That's right.
Tell me about why did it take you 4 months to do your first deal?
So I've been investing for 15 years. The first 10, I was really part-time, really part-time. Like, I bought one house a year and I would rent it out.
What was your job?
I'm sorry?
What was your job at the time?
I've always done sales and marketing. Over that 10-year period, I was in different jobs doing sales for companies or marketing for companies, various jobs.
That helps, because we're all in the marketing business, right?
Absolutely. But the reason I stepped back just for one quick second is to let you know that, I discovered wholesaling about 5 years ago. And since then, I've been full-time and I haven't looked back, right? It's no longer a part-time thing. It's a full-time thing. Also, since then, I have not bought a house for retail, because I didn't even know that you could buy houses off market at discounted prices until about 5 years ago, right? So to do my first deal, I had my job. I was part-time, like I was saying earlier, and I learned about this, and I'm like, holy cow, this is cool. I've been wanting to quit my job and go full-time into real estate anyway for 10 years at this point. So let's start learning more. And I read a book or two, and then I bought a course or two, and then I bought a couple more courses, and then I bought a couple more books. And after about a month, probably less, but let's just say a month to be simple here, I knew everything I needed to know about wholesaling, but I hadn't done a deal yet. And then for the next 2 months, Mitch, I bought more books and more courses. I even went to the extent of hiring a coach at the end of those additional 2 months. So basically at the end of 3 months.
Okay, so let me ask you,
yeah, please.
So how much money, just so it's relative to people, because I hear these stories all the time, and it's more normal than it's not. How much you spending so far, including, and then we'll ask you how much you spent on your coach.
Yeah, so at that point, I probably spent, just buying little courses, books, PDFs, little things. I'd probably spent somewhere around $2,000.
Okay, and then you got a coach. What'd your coach cost you?
And then my coach cost $5,000.
Okay, and that was a hard check to write, wasn't it?
It was a hard check to write. But
$5,000 a lot of money when you're not sure of yourself. And were you married at the time?
I was not.
Oh, well, that makes it easier to write that check.
That's
if you're
right.
Married and you write that check, it's a really hard time.
It makes it a little bit more tough. You're absolutely right. So I had spent $2,000 in the first 3 months buying books, buying courses, and then. But here's the thing, Mitch. I knew everything I needed to know after 3 or 4 weeks.
Sounds like you're overanalyzing a little bit, huh?
Yeah, and then I spent 2 more months thinking, well, maybe there's just one more thing I needed to know. Maybe there's one more thing I don't know. Maybe if I get this next tip or trick, it'll all make sense and I can jump in. But at the same time, like looking back in hindsight, like I knew everything I needed to know after 3 or 4 weeks. And I spent an additional 2 months in analysis paralysis. I was buying more books and more courses and more stuff, which isn't necessarily bad, right?
You were afraid. You were unsure of yourself. You were
exactly
unsure.
Right.
So when now, if you got the right coach, they should have fixed that for you pretty quick. Did you get the right coach?
I did. I got an awesome coach, and he fixed
Okay,
it for me immediately.
So what did he say to you? He said, "Hey."
He said, "Hey, David, quit."
Hey, David, pull your head out of your ass. Let's go.
Pull your head out of your ass. He said, "Quit." He said, "Quit dicking around." He goes, "You know what you need to do." He goes, "You are in the marketing business, okay? You are not a real estate investor until you buy some rental properties or you fix and flip, right? You can flip houses without being a real estate investor. And what you need to become is a marketer." So he said to me one day, he goes, because I kept sending him all these questions. Well, what happens if you go and you buy a house and you do this? And what happens if you go and they say this? Or what happens and what happens, what happens? And he said, "David, these are all really, really great questions, but they're all really irrelevant. None of these things have happened, and you are worrying about them. So instead of worrying about all the possible things that could happen, why don't you just try to worry about the things that are happening? And then if you don't know the answer at that point in time, come to me or go seek a solution. But don't sit around all day thinking that you need to know every scenario." And he said, "How many times has your phone rang this week?" This is like basically day one. And for a motivated seller. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 people that are calling back from my cold calls. And he said, "Okay, not bad. That's a week though, guys, not a day." And then he said, "How many people are you calling out a week?" And I was like, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30. And he goes, "Okay, well, that's your problem right there. You've already, you already know everything you need to know. So you have basically paid me to light a fire under your ass." And I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what I paid you to do. I want to start wholesaling properties. What do I need to do?" And he said, "Okay, well, you need to put in 4 to 6 hours a day cold calling outbound, or you need to put some money into a marketing budget, and the two of us will figure out what we're going to do with that. But if you don't have any money to invest, you need to invest time. You either have a monetary budget or you have a time allocated budget." And I said, his name was Joe. I said, "Joe, I got both, man. I'll do 4 or 5 hours a day, whatever it is that you want me to do," because I had quit my job at this point. "And I'm going to put some money into some postcards." And that was the first marketing I did. And the first marketing I did after I paid him, the $5,000 to join the program, I think I spent another $1,500 or $1,800 on my very, very, very first round of postcards. And this was 5 years ago.
Okay, so 5,000, 2,000, and 2,000. You're at $9,000 now.
$9,000.
I'm just putting this perspective for people. So
no, I think I love it.
They walk out there and people say, flip this, whatever, makes it look so easy. I mean, it takes a little bit. Now I didn't start with $9,000 because I didn't have $9,000. I couldn't even afford plastic. So I went and took down all the politician signs, flipped them over and cut them in half, cut them in pieces and wrote on the back of them and nailed them up to telephone poles by the hundreds. But, so there's no excuse really. You can start from broke or you can start with a budget. We're talking about a guy who started with a little bit of a budget. Okay. So there you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. I absolutely not. By the way, this is all on credit cards.
Oh, okay. So
I didn't have
that changes again. That changes again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am not discounting the fact that I had spent $2,000, $5,000, and then another $1,500 or $1,800, but I didn't have the money to spend. It was all on a credit card. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you're betting on the come. You're betting on the come.
I'm betting on the come. That's right. So then what happened next is I sent the postcards out and I essentially started working 4 to 6 hours a day. That's it. I wasn't doing 10 or 15 or 18-hour days. I was working 4 to 6, but 4 to 6 hours a day was equivalent to 2 weeks of the amount of work I had done in the previous 2 weeks, right? Because I was only making, cold calls 5 or 10 minutes a day on average prior to hiring my coach. And I had no inbound people calling me unless they were calling me back because I had left them a voicemail about a property that they were either selling or had for rent that I was trying to buy. It was that simple. Okay.
Okay. So let's just, we just breeze over a couple things here, but I'm going to stop and pull you back. You mailed out some postcards. They're usually about $1 a piece. So 1,800 postcards. Maybe.
Well, no, postcards are about 40 cents a piece. Yeah. Call it 50 cents.
So 3,000 of them.
Yeah. About 3,000, 3,500.
Okay. So who are you mailing to? People are
Good
going to want
point.
to know that.
Good point. I was mailing to absentee-owned individuals with high equity, as well as the vacants. I mailed to 2 different lists because the first list I pulled only had about 1,200 people on it for the zip codes I wanted. So then he said, all right, cool, no problem. Find some vacants in that area. And if you don't have enough to meet your marketing budget, which at that point was, 15 to 1,800, then do more zip codes. He's like, let's not get into the weeds about what the list is. People will be motivated or not. And if they're not, they will be at some point. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to assume you were going into medium price range houses.
Medium to low end.
Yeah. Medium to low.
I was scared of the houses. So I'm in the St. Louis market, and the medium house range here is, 100 to 150K. And the nicer homes, 3, 4, 5, 600 grand. I was scared to touch those at the time.
Yeah. That's kind of a phenomenon. Everyone goes to the cheap houses because they think, they don't have the money to do the big houses, but there are theories, strategies to do the pretty houses, as Ron LeGrand says. And you don't need any money or that much. You don't need any more money than you need to do the little ones. There's hardly ever a true zero down. There's always some little expense, but some of it's so small that we just call it zero. But if anybody, I don't really appreciate those people that want to split hairs with me. Well, it wasn't free. You spent $100. I said, okay, dude, I spent $100. I made 20 grand or whatever. If you want to debate about that not being free, then go waste your time. But
I'm with you. I'm with you.
And you did absentee owners, which means, someone owns a house, but they don't live in it, or vacants. And then you did high equity, which means you tried to decipher whether the note was 5 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old, 20 years old. Is that what I'm getting from you?
No, it wasn't so much as in terms of the age of the note. It was, so I was buying my lists at the time from List Source.
Mm-hmm.
In List Source, you can actually filter those leads out by the amount of equity that it's presumed. So I don't know their exact algorithm or how they do that.
Well, that's how they're doing it. That's how they're doing it.
That's probably how they're doing it.
There's no other way to do it that I know of. I mean, I don't know everything, but I think so. You can do it yourself, or you can get List Source. But how List Source does it is like, these guys borrowed money 25 years ago, and they're still paying on the same lien is still on there. So obviously they must have paid this note down a lot. So there must be a lot of equity, not to mention the fact that the house should have gone up in value from that time.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, my criteria was 30% to 100% equity.
30% or more.
Correct.
Okay. And did you get a lot of return postcards?
I did get a lot of return postcards, and at the time, I just threw them away because I didn't know anything. Wasn't
that crazy, right?
That's right.
To throw away the return postcards. We all did it. We all threw it away at one time. And then somewhere in the back of your mind goes, that house is still vacant. It's still there. I mean, just because the card came back didn't mean the house vanished. The house is still there. Someone owns it. I bet you. And then it dawns on you like, hey, if I could find that guy, I bet you no one else's postcard got there either. I'd be the only guy in the room.
That's right. Absolutely. We skip trace them all now that come back. But at the time, I didn't know any better.
Yeah. So what skip trace service do you use?
We use True People Search, which is free to start. And then beyond that, we use TLO.
See, we use TLO too. Do you say to start? Is that when you're starting out, or as you say, you try to use that?
No, we search every single person through TruePeopleSearch.com first.
And if you don't get them, then you go to.
Yeah, and the reason is like 75% of the time I can find their information for free. So why would I want to go pay $1? I
see. I just learned something.
Yep.
Good stuff. So you're mailing out these postcards. So someone calls you, they're a motivated seller. You got a script or let's talk about what that conversation sounds like. Where do you go with that conversation? I call you, I'm a motivated seller. What happens?
Hey, Mitch, I'm Dave. I appreciate your time today. Thank you for calling. What is the address of the property?
1125 Alamo Street.
All right, 1125 Alamo Street. I know the area well. I own a bunch of properties right around that place. Is this a 3-2 that's about 1,200 square feet?
Yeah, with a 2-car garage.
The 2-car garage. Great. I love it. All right, Mitch. So you got one of my postcards, or you heard my ad on the radio, or you saw my ad online. Again, I want to thank you for calling. Is this the best number to reach you back at?
Yeah, it's my cell phone.
Perfect. All right. Mitch, why are you selling the property, or why do you have interest in selling it?
Man, it's just a mess. A lot of, it's sitting there vacant, and people are tearing it up, and I owe some taxes on it. And I just want to, I'm ready to turn the page on this, but I haven't. No, realtors don't want to sell it, so because it's
okay. Well, no problem at all, Mitch. I bought 98 houses last year. I would be happy to buy this house from you. Now, I do want to say one thing. I'm an investor, and I don't typically pay retail. Okay. However, I buy houses cash, as is, and I can typically close within 2 to 3 weeks. Does that sound like something that's going to work out for you?
Yeah. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? I can sell the house for.
Well, I'm thinking that I'm going to need to see it first before I can make you an offer. However, I'm typically buying houses in this neighborhood between 80 and 100,000.
80 and 100. What if I owe some back taxes?
How much taxes do you owe?
I think it's around 4,000, maybe 4,500.
About 4,500. How much do you owe on the property?
I think it's around 30,000.
Okay, well, you owe 30,000. Let's assume that I come to the closing table with $80,000. The title company is going to pay the $30,000 loan off, and they're going to pay off those taxes. So you are only going to get you're actually going to get the difference. So you don't have to worry about those back taxes. We will handle that for you. We want to make it easy for you.
Okay. What if there's some stuff in there I want to get out?
We make it easy. The name of my company is House Sold Easy. So if you need more time, no problem. Check this out, Mitch. If you don't want to leave that stuff behind, you can leave it behind. Your problem becomes my problem. We want to make it easy for you. Is there a good time that I can meet you at the property this week?
Yeah, anytime. I'm retired.
Let's go now. You want to go right now? I got 2 hours on my schedule.
I want to go now.
I'll meet you there. I'll see you in 15 minutes.
All right.
Let's go. That's it. It's simple, man. I don't necessarily have a script. What I do is I seek motivation. I figure out why you want to sell. If you don't tell me why, no problem. I ask when. The when reveals the why. Here's a perfect example. 7-8 months ago, I was buying a house. Guy calls me up. Dave, I got a house for sale. Great. When can I come over and see the property? Well, I'm here now. Okay, cool. I'll be over this afternoon. You're going to be there in about 2-3 hours? Great. I get there. I said, hey, Mr. Seller, why are you selling the property? Well, Dave, it's not really your business, but I need to sell it, and I need to sell it by next Friday. Like, I literally need to have cash in hand next Friday. Okay, well, maybe we can make that work. I'm an investor. I don't typically pay retail, but I would love to buy this house, assuming that I can get a good deal on it. As a wholesaler, all I do is I trade convenience for a discount, period. That's it. That's all I do. A wholesaler does nothing more than provide liquidity to the marketplace, okay? I make this very clear whenever I talk to sellers. I'm very transparent, and I tell them, I don't do this for free. I don't buy houses to lose money. I don't buy houses to break even. I have a family that I have to feed. This is my business. However, if you are willing to give me a discount on the property, I am more than happy to purchase it, pay you cash, close quickly, and buy it as is. You don't have to do anything to the property. You can leave everything behind, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I like that approach because a lot of people are out there advertising and we pay market price for houses and everything, and then they get there and they want to change the story or run the house down, or I don't know. I don't like the bait and switch. I'm really more of a believer in how you do it. Hey, I'll be happy to solve your problem pretty damn fast with cash, like within 3 or 4 or 5 days. But you got to leave me enough room to make a little money. I'm not doing this for my health,
I usually do. Absolutely, Mitch. I usually do this on the phone, and I tell people, listen, like I give them a range. Okay, like basically, let's assume that the ARVs in that neighborhood are 150 grand, right? I'm going to take that and I'm going to times it by anywhere between 60 and 75%. And I'm going to say, this is where I'm buying homes in that neighborhood. And if they say, oh man, you're crazy, The home's worth 150. Hey, no problem. If you still want to sell it and you want me to help you connect you with a real estate agent that can, maybe get you that, great. But there's no guarantee they're going to get you that. There's no guarantee that it's going to happen quickly. It's going to take a long time. It's going to be a painful process. I'm happy to help you do that. However, I don't even typically ask people what they're asking for a property. And the reason is because one time out of 1,000, what they ask is lower than what I'm willing to pay. So I typically just figure out what I'm willing to pay, and then I make that offer. I set the bar really low. And then what happens is they say, hey, that's just crazy. Or they say, okay, well, we're in the ballpark. Can you come up a little bit? And maybe I can. Most of the time I can. But if they just say, oh, yeah, your offer is just completely crazy, well, guess what? It's not that the offer is crazy. It's that they aren't motivated. And I am way too busy doing deals, being successful with other things in my life than to waste time chasing an unmotivated person. So we put that person into our CRM and we follow up with them every month or every quarter or sometimes even every year. But if they aren't motivated to take an offer that's discounted, then I have no motivation to buy their house cash as is quickly. This is a trade. All I'm trading is convenience for a discount. Okay, that's it. And I will tell people that straight up. Now, if they are in a bind, then that offer looks more and more. So let me back up for 1 second. We talked about this guy that I had talked to, and he wouldn't tell me the why. So what I did is I said, okay, I said, why do you want to sell? He said, well, it's really not your business, Dave. I would like you to give me an offer and I'd like to close by next Friday and have cash in hand. And I said, okay, well, I don't know if I can do, next Friday. Maybe I can, but when do you need the funds? Like, what's the last day that you could do this? And he said, like I said, I need these funds next Friday. And then he kind of stuttered and he's like, because I'm going to be in jail on Monday. So he just told me his why by me asking when. So if you ask a seller why, and they say, Dave, this isn't your business, or I'd rather not tell you why, then just ask when they need the funds. And if they don't, and if it's very, very short, well, then give them some pushback. And then they're going to tell you why they need the funds when. Okay. So if you want to understand somebody's why, ask when, and it will reveal the why. So he essentially said, Dave, I'm going to be in jail next Monday or the following Monday. So I need to have my funds this Friday. And I say, great. Guess what? I don't need to buy this house. I bought 98 houses last year. I didn't need any of them. But guess what? This is a business. And if you want to sell it to me at a great price, I can close next Friday.
See, I think that's a really important point because there's a lot of postcards going out these days.
I don't need any of these houses, guys. None of them. But I would love to buy them at a great price. So I am very, very transparent. Reason is I want to disqualify myself as being a retail buyer. I want to disqualify them as being non-motivated. So if either of those things crisscross, I don't waste time talking to that person, driving to their house, trying to build rapport with somebody that isn't going to take a discount. There's no worse waste of time. So you have to put that out there in the beginning. Now, I'm not saying that if somebody says, hey, your offer is crazy, that you hang up the phone or they hang up the phone on you and that's it. You're just getting started. Okay. My average deal, and I'm doing about 8 to 10 a month. Okay. Takes 4 to 6 months. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't go out and get a call today and lock up the property tomorrow and have it sold on Friday of this week, or even do all 3 of those in the same day. I do it all the time. But the average deal takes 4 to 6 months because I'm averaging my deals over 5 years. And what happens is I'll send a postcard out, or somebody will hear my radio ad or whatever the marketing that I'm doing, and we'll touch base and we'll talk and we'll have a great conversation. Some conversations are 3 minutes, some are 30. Okay, I don't care about talking on the phone for a long period of time, but what I do care is getting in my car and driving somewhere, spending a lot of time there, and then not leaving with the contract. I want to qualify, but I also want to disqualify myself as paying retail right away, immediately, because then it saves your time. And then what you have is a business, not a job. All right. If you can be more efficient at it, and you can outsource certain parts of it. Now you have a business, not a job. So ask why, ask when they don't tell you why. That's a gold nugget right there. The when reveals the why. Disqualify yourself as a retail buyer. You don't have to buy that house. In fact, you don't really even need or want the house. However, if you can get a great deal, everything changes, right? So disqualify yourself as a retail buyer and then try to qualify them as motivated. If they are not motivated, then just say, hey, I think the house is probably worth this, and I'd be willing to pay you in this range, which is going to typically be between half and 75%.
Okay, and then,
and if they are willing to play with you, if you are in the ballpark with them, then set the appointment, then spend more time building rapport, but get it out immediately. There's no reason to small talk somebody 25 minutes to then say, okay, well, I'm glad you called. I also like the Cubs, whatever the hell you're talking about. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Get to the point.
So if they want retail, you offer to send them to a realtor. What's your relationship with this realtor?
So I own a brokerage locally. I'm not an agent. I'm not a broker, but I have a partner who's a broker, and we own several companies together. So we have agents that work for us. So I will just send them the lead, or I will give the number of the agent to the particular seller. So there's lots of ancillary benefits of wholesaling too. Wholesaling is a means to an end for me. All right. Wholesaling is a job, but I love it because I can make a lot of money very quickly. Right. But at the end of the day, it's a job. So my motto is very simple. It's keep the best, sell the rest. All the marketing that I do it for me. I do it because I want more rental properties. I want nice fix and flips. What ends up happening is 90 to 95% of the deals that come in, I don't keep, I sell because they're just not good flips, or they need more money than I'm willing to spend. Or I can make a quick 8 or 10 grand on a wholesale today versus waiting 3 to 5 months to make 15 or 20 grand or 30 grand or whatever it is. One in the hand's better than two in the bush. We've all heard that. So wholesaling is a means to an end for me to find the best rental properties and the best deals on my fix and flips. I keep the best and I sell the rest. It just so happens that the rest is like 90% of the deals that come through, but that's okay.
Well, so it's a way to work your way out of a job, right? You buy enough of these and you get them cash flowing enough, you set yourself up to not have to do it anymore. Of course, if you're like most of us, it kind of gets in your blood, right? You become a deal junkie. Are you addicted?
I'm addicted. Sure. I guess you could say that.
Are you going to have to go to House Wholesaling Anonymous one day so you can get unhooked from that?
It's possible. It's quite possible.
Yeah. CRM. What are you doing for CRM?
So I actually have a couple CRMs. So I don't recommend you do what I do. However, I have a couple good systems. So, I'm not just a wholesaler. We do fix and flips. We have about 50 plus rental properties online. Our goal is to get to 150 in the next 24 months. We're basically buying one rental a week right now. So we're growing pretty quickly. We use Podio with the back end of GlobiFlow to automate and manage the day-to-day operations of all of our businesses. So that is basically a place to take notes and to create tasks is the best way I like to refer to it.
How do you spell GlobiFlow?
It's GLOBIFLOW. So Podio owns GlobiFlow, and both of those companies are owned by Citrix. And GlobiFlow is just basically they really need to merge these two into one. It's really stupid that they're in two different softwares or URLs, I would say. But it's all GlobiFlow does is connect to Podio, and it automates tasks and contract sending and PDF creation and all this stuff in the back end.
I'm using Podio myself too, and it's quite the ordeal. Of course, I have 8 people in the organization. They all got to get notified at different stages, and it's about the same volume as yours. About 100 houses a year. Don't try to do that, but are you doing it by yourself? Because you have to participate, because only you know the structure of your office and who your players are and everything. You kind of have to draw the tree, but after that, I suggest you get someone to help you, or to actually program it and make it do what you want. Are you doing this stuff yourself, or are you paying some Podio expert to get done what you want?
It's a good question. Both. In the beginning, I was paying somebody, and then I just learned what they were doing, and I was like, I can do this myself. So now I do my own automations, and I change them daily too, because I can make them better in real time.
Yeah. I mean, we understand the basics of it, but I can tell you something else. The CRM that we have it's gonna take the place of two people. That we need two people right now to do this stuff, or we would need two people to do this stuff, and now we don't. It's just, I went back and forth. I thought, well, maybe I would go in it with Investor Fuse. My problem was I was already too far into building this.
That's a common problem, man.
I was too far into it to like stop and go with those guys. And Investor Fuse has got a really good program. You can get you jump started real fast. And, I really like those guys over there. I was just too deep in and too committed to building my own to stop. But I sold a lot of people on the idea of Investor Fuse, or got them to look at it and make it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very familiar with Investor Fuse. I'm very familiar with a couple different softwares that are built on top of Podio, and all of them are great. I'm not going to sit here and bash any software. They're all great, but the data is only as good as the person putting it in.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you got 100 bells and whistles or not. If you're not using the CRM.
Tell us some of the things your CRM does.
So my CRM can automate a contract. It's about, I don't know, maybe 11 fields that I enter. I can enter those fields. I click one button, it generates a contract. I type in a name and an email address. It sends that contract to them via right signature. If they sign it, it comes back into the CRM, creates tasks for everyone that's involved to start marketing that property on our website. It also pushes that into a new app that we track our closings in. So our closing coordinator is now aware that there's a new property that needs to be added to the board. That's just one example, right? That's just contract sending. We also generate notes and deeds of trusts with Podio with very simple inputs. We have two virtual assistants in the Philippines that have access. They have phones as well via Ring Central. They're in there all day. They actually answer all of our inbound calls at this point. They also do all of our outbound follow-ups.
So you have VAs answering your inbound calls?
That's correct.
And
I try to answer.
Are you training them yourself, or are you having someone train them and you're hiring from a company?
No, I've been working with my virtual assistants, one of them for 4 years, one of them for 2.5. And I trained all of them myself.
Okay. So
I try to spend very, very, very little time on my phone in a day. Very little. The more times my phone rings, the more distractions I will have in my life, and the least focus I can be on the things that matter.
Yeah, delegation's not the easiest thing for some of us to learn, but man, once you get the hang of it, I got the hang of it so good, I started to piss my wife off. She's like, "Hey, honey, can you go down and pick up the dry cleaning?" I'm like, "Hey, I make like $800 an hour. Can we get someone else to go do the dry cleaning?" I'm the most expensive dry cleaner picker-upper you'll ever hire. Why the hell are you asking me to do that? Right. Doesn't go over really well. But you got to think like that, right? Don't work below your pay grade in any area. Like, you won't ever catch me out mowing a lawn, unless, heaven forbid, I wanted to get a suntan and sweat and burn some calories.
Right. I'm with you.
You won't see me out there. If I want to do that, I'll go to the gym, right? I'm not mowing.
Right. So yeah, our CRM Podio, it's great though. It manages my wholesale business. It manages my rental business. It manages our hard money lending, which is very, very, very small, and it's only for St. Louis people. So I'm not promoting that, but we have a business that does some lending. We have several other businesses. We have a podcast. We use Podio to manage all of these different things because you can tag people, you can create notes, and you can make follow-up tasks and appointments, right? It's very, very, very basic, but I love it. So Podio is great to keep everybody in the loop, okay? However, we use another CRM called REI Black Book, and REI Black Book is a marketing machine. They have a CRM built in. I'm not going to bash it, but I don't like it. I like Podio better. Let's just put it that way, okay? So
it's a little more customizable, right? You can make it personal, change it easier.
Yeah, absolutely. REI Black Book is fantastic. Huge fan. I just never liked the way that the CRM inside of it was really kind of worked and talked to each other. I think that since then they've made some huge major improvements, but I just, like you said, I got into Podio, and trying to change into something else after you've built something out for years is just it's not worth it. Even if it could be better. Okay. It's just like, I already know everything. All my team knows everything. I just don't want to mess with it. So what I use REI Black Book for is they can generate websites very quickly, and you can also add your properties to those websites very quickly, which is awesome. You can also add flags as like available, under contract, or pending, coming soon. So that allows me to market all of my properties. They also have lead pages. They have email blasting. So basically, the way I look at it is pre-contract, I use Podio. Post-contract, I use REI Black Book. Now I'm still taking all my notes in Podio, but those property pictures get added to REI Black Book. They get added to the website. It goes on my website. I send a text blast or an email blast, or sometimes both, to all the buyers that have opted in on my website. Okay, I'm not like taking buyer calls being like, what are you looking to buy? That's not efficient for me. My virtual assistants are doing that. If somebody asks me what I have available, I send them the link to my website. If they say, hey, I want to be notified, I send them a link to my buyers list opt-in. And it's all automated through REI Black Book. Okay, so the properties at the website, they get emailed out to the buyers via that website. They also have a phone system in there. They have a pretty cool system for following up with people and putting them on drips for text messages, ringless voicemails, even letters, even one-off letters. So they're where I do the majority of my marketing post-contract, meaning that I follow up with my buyers in that system, and all my sellers are in Podio. Now, again, I don't recommend you use two systems. It'd be much easier just to use one, but that's how I've always done it, because I didn't like the CRM, and I wanted to run more businesses out of Podio than a real estate investor specific CRM would let me do. I had more freedom, right? And then just recently, I also started using a third CRM called RE Simply. And the reason that I'm not using it full time by any means, but I'm dabbling with it. Reason is the creator and owner of the website of the system is one of my good friends, and I'm helping him with feedback. But I really like the system because it's unlike any other I've seen. And what I mean by that is KPIs. Let's talk about KPIs for a couple minutes, Mitch. KPI. With Podio, your KPIs are ugly. You got to go
tell everyone what a KPI is.
So a KPI is a key performance indicator. Basically, it is it's a screenshot, or a snapshot. It's a better word. It's a snapshot of how you're doing in your business. It's a way to measure how much you've spent and how much you've earned, where you've spent, when and why. And then it gives you the ability to track certain things. Like, for instance, how much am I spending for an inbound lead? And then how many leads do I need to get an appointment? How many appointments do I need to get a contract? How many contracts do I need to get a wholesale deal done? And then even beyond that, what's the number of days on average between the time I talk to somebody and the time I get a contract, or the number of days on average between the time I get a contract and the time I sell it? It's very difficult to run these reports out of Podio. We've spent thousands of dollars having KPIs set up, and we just end up deleting them because they suck. Podio is very, very, very inefficient with that type of thing. They're very, very great at other things, right? So this software, RE Simply, that I'm hoping to pivot to eventually, for Podio, I'll probably still keep REI Black Book because it's a great marketing machine, and I haven't found anyone that even can compete with them in that realm. But RE Simply is created by a CPA. So everything that you enter in there, you can actually link in your bank account too, which is sweet. And you can reconcile your bank. You can remove QuickBooks altogether with this software. So the creator of the software is a CPA. So he built a CRM on top of a spreadsheet. Whereas everybody else is trying to build a spreadsheet on top of a CRM, and that's impossible. Truly impossible. So his system is all about your KPIs. And it records all the inbound and outbound calls, which I didn't have recently. So now I can better manage my virtual assistants versus looking at a call rail sheet or an analytics sheet of how many numbers were dialed in or out. Now I can actually listen to these calls. And if my virtual assistants are dropping the ball or don't have high energy like me, then it's time to have a talk with them or find a new virtual assistant. Managing virtual assistants can be difficult. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on these different topics, but that definitely has solved multiple problems for me. And I'm spending about $160 a month on QuickBooks right now for 7 or 8 different companies that I run. I can eliminate that completely with this software too. So I'm using 3. I don't recommend you use 3. I recommend you use 1, right? But you asked what I use, and that's it. I wanted to be completely transparent.
Well, that's good. Telling the truth about it. So we got one more major section to cover. We're kind of going long. I want to let you guys know you can get a free wholesaling course. Just go to reinvestorsummit.com/Dodge, DODGE. So go to reinvestorsummit.com/Dodge, DOGE, and get his free wholesaling course. It's absolutely free. He doesn't sell anything as a general rule that I know of, except for houses to wholesale buyers. So, to his buyers, his cash buyers. You can also get a copy of his book, Ultimate Guide to Wholesaling Real Estate. It's actually the first 30 podcasts. So if you'd rather shortcut that, you can go to his podcast. Discount Property Investor Podcast. All this stuff's listed over here at reinvestorsummit.com/Dodge, DODGE. So you don't have to write this down or remember it. Just remember Dodge as the keyword. And to get over there, and it's all about doing that first deal. If you haven't done your first deal, get it under your belt. Don't get stuck down in the minutia. So the last topic: how are you wholesaling your houses? What's your average days on market with a wholesale deal, and what's your average profit? How are you doing this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in the Midwest, we don't have the luxury of having the massive spreads like a lot of people do on the coasts or in higher expensive markets. Our average wholesale deal is usually around $7,000. But guys, $7,000 could change a lot of people's lives, right?
Yeah, especially if you do it twice a month,
right?
Or 3 times, or
That's
8 times, like you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. $7,000 is actually quite a lot of money, right? So our average deal is $7,000. We typically like to have our deals sold within about 4 days. If they aren't sold within 4 days, then we're pricing them too high, or we just need to go back to the seller and renegotiate our prices with them. We typically shoot for 10 business day inspection periods. Now, let me give your audience another little gold nugget. I've done a couple nuggets here. This is actually one of my favorite nuggets here, Mitch. When getting a property under contract, you want to have CYA clauses. That stands for cover your ass. There's lots of different ways to do CYA clauses, but what I like to do is I like to give myself 10 business days to inspect the property. Now, why business days? That's the key word here.
Because I know why. Pick me.
Yeah. 10 business days.
Two weekends, so now you got 14 days.
Now you got 14 days.
And heaven forbid there's a holiday like Labor Day on Monday. That gives you 15 days.
There you go. So if you get 20 days versus 20 business days, okay, you're going to have even more. You're going to have 8 extra days. So you basically buy yourself 40% more time by adding one word to your contract.
Business days instead of days.
It's one of my favorite tips. Well, we shoot for 10 business day inspections. We try to have our deals sold within 4 of those days. If not, we use that extra time to renegotiate the deal down. We probably do just as many assignments as double closes. And we're probably doing 8 to 10 deals a month. I'd say on the low side. Some months 12, 15, but we're usually doing at least 8 to 10.
I love what you said. Like if it's a wholesale deal, it should be gone with the first person you call, at least the second or the third person you call, right? I mean, sometimes you don't want to take a wholesale, but I mean, the reason why you would shotgun out a wholesale deal is you're trying to find a greater fool. So you got a really high price. You're shooting it out to 200 cash buyers, hoping to find an idiot and get a really high price. But if you really have it at a wholesale price, you should be able to pick up the phone to one person who's a major player in your town, and it's done. You know. So I like what you said. If it's waiting around for over 4 days, our price is too high. I agree with that. If you get it, what's your opinion? There's a lot of wholesalers out there trying to find a greater fool. I end up turning those guys off, blacking them out. I won't even take their calls, at all. If I want to wholesale a deal, I give someone I leave some money. I leave enough money to be a true wholesale. And I pick up the phone and call one guy. If he's out of town, I pick up another guy and call another guy. But I sell it 2 or 3 phone calls. If I send that same deal out to everybody, I'm going to make one guy happy, and I'm going to piss off everybody else because why didn't you sell it to me? Why didn't you sell it to me? So I don't shotgun out my wholesale deals. I just pick up the phone and call a couple people, say, hey, you got time to buy a house today? Because I know you want it. It's just, do you got time?
Right. No, it's a great strategy. I love it. I think it's awesome.
Do you use mass texting in your sales?
We're getting away from doing it. We use mass texting to promote the website that has all of our properties on it. So essentially, whenever a new property is added to it, we will notify the buyers list. They opt in. I've never added anybody to my texting list. I actually added it in the footer of my emails about 1.5 years ago saying, hey, if you want to get notified in real time, because a lot of people don't check their email, but maybe at like 8 o'clock in the evening. And if I send out a deal at 7 a.m. and, they want to know about it. So we decided to implement that. That list quickly grew to over 2,000 people that wanted to get the text. However, it's very expensive. So I think I probably spend anywhere from $25 to $30 sometimes per text to get that out to people. So I'm trying to scale that back to maybe around 50 people or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, man, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on. Maybe I'll show up on your podcast one day. I'd like to sell my houses with owner financing. So I pick up about the same as you do in the down payment, $7,000 to $10,000, but they still owe me about $500 a month for 360 months. So that's 180,000.
Are they always $500 a month?
I average $535 a month positive cash flow, but I just use 500 for an easy number. If I sell a house with a $100,000 house with a 10% down payment, I got 10,000 down. That's equal to a wholesale deal. But if I sell or finance it on a 30-year note at 10%, then they still owe me. I never borrow over 65%. I average 58%. I buy my houses at 58% average of what I can own or finance them for. So at the end of the day, they owe me $850 payment. I owe my private lender $350, and I collect about $500 in the middle. If you take 360 months, they owe you. That's $180,000, and and I don't have any surprises, you know. Of course, you know, my note's not forever. My note it's temporary. It's going to get paid off one day. Your rent houses are forever. I don't get the appreciation of those houses because it's not my house anymore. So I lose appreciation and depreciation, but I also lose all those liabilities from the back fence to the front mailbox. I'm not responsible for any of it. I just get the check, and if it clears, it's my money, and I never have to give it back to any maintenance guy or anything, unless, of course, I got to foreclose on somebody. But so that's the two sides of the coin that I teach. You know, like everyone's been teaching, you know, buy and hold's been around and more popular. You know, owner financing is a little bit different. The only problem with, you know, owner financing is you can owner finance 300, 400, 500 notes and be collecting the payments. You better take the money you make from that and buy something that rents. I chose mini storages and boat storages, self-storage, because it was the easiest rental in my little brain. When you buy all your rent houses, you're done. You don't, you know, you're buying forever. You're buying forever assets. They're yours until you decide you don't want them. In the seller financing, I don't have to deal with tenants and toilets, but I have to take an extra step, and I have to take the money I make from that cash flow, and I have to buy something forever, be it strip centers or apartment complexes or rental houses or commercial buildings. I buy self-storage. So, you know, today I have 1,600 doors, and everybody owes me $100 on the first of the month on the average. So it's been a really great business. Started in 1991 with 13 units, and today, some 30 something years later or whatever, you know, it's built into something. It's funny how these things take time, don't they?
Mm-hmm. You got to be patient.
Yeah, so let's talk about all that stuff you talked about, the CRMs and the systems and the ARIA. But you didn't learn this stuff overnight, and no one really goes in and holds your hands with this stuff. You just have to jump in and start.
You got to just go in and be okay failing.
Right. So, any last words of advice, possibly before for some of the new guys out there before maybe we wrap it up?
Yeah, no problem at all. I mean, don't do what I did in terms of think that you don't know enough, right? So you had mentioned that I have a free course. Go check it out, guys. Go to the show notes from this episode. Check out the course. Basically, all the money that I had spent, and at this point, it's over 100,000. All the things that I've learned, I've added to this course. So you don't need to go hire a bunch of people or buy a bunch of books. Just learn the basics, all right? Wholesaling real estate, I don't want to say that it's easy because I would be lying to you. Sometimes it's very difficult. However, it is simple. There's a big difference between simple and easy, okay? I do my best in the course to make it both simple and easy, but wholesaling in general is very, very simple. You want me to tell you what wholesaling looks like in under 30 seconds? Here's what it looks like. You market to motivated sellers. You use a contract to lock up a property. You find a cash buyer. You take it to a title company and get paid. That's how simple it is. I've done that 400 times in the last 5 years. Now, it doesn't mean it's necessarily easy to do that, but it's super, super simple. So don't think that you need to learn more, that there's more out there, or just that you need that one extra tip to be able to get out there and do it. You need to have one of two things or both. You need to allocate time to outbound calling and texting sellers and or landlords, or you need to allocate money towards a marketing budget that will get your message in front of them so they call or email you. You either go hunting or you go fishing, right? You understand those analogies? Whenever I send out 1,000 postcards, I'm basically standing at the edge of a lake with 1,000 fishing poles. I'm fishing. Or I can pick up my phone and I can start calling people saying, hey, I own a couple in the neighborhood. I'm looking to buy more. You want to sell? That's hunting. You either hunt or you fish. You have a time allocation or you have money that you allocate.
You're stalking them. You're fishing them or you're stalking them.
That's it. That's all there is to it, Mitch.
I like that.
This is so incredibly simple. Yeah. So the only thing I'd like to end on is, Guys, don't overthink it. It is extremely simple. My company's doing 8 to 10 wholesale deals a month. You can do it too. I'm not special. I'm not.
And you're not doing this all over the country. You're doing this in your hometown.
I'm doing this in my backyard. I don't typically like buying. Again, I wholesale because I want the rentals and I want the rehabs. I'm doing it because I'm marketing for houses I want. I keep the best, I sell the rest. I don't like driving more than 20 or 25 minutes to a property. So what does that mean? I don't market to properties 45 minutes away. Now, sometimes it randomly happens that way.
Unless you want to wholesale them, right?
Right. But basically, I'm doing this in my backyard. My office is strategically located where 3 highways come together. Strategically. So I can get to any house in town in 25 minutes or less. But yes, I'm doing this in my backyard. I live in St. Louis. I only buy properties in St. Louis, right? I suggest you start there in your own backyard because you can learn very quickly whenever you can, set appointments and walk through properties and build rapport with people. You can learn very quickly how the process needs to happen. And it's not a hard process, but it's a process. That's it, Mitch. That's it. Keep it simple, man.
Check it out. Get your free course. Get your Ultimate Guide to Wholesaling Real Estate book. Be sure to check out his podcast. We'll have it listed back there as well. So, looks like we better get going because I'm about to flip out here. This is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. Thank you for taking the time to get you some David Dodd. Please check out taxfreefuture.com. You won't believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. We're going to tell you what they're not telling you, why they're not telling you, and it's all going to make sense. All right, this is Mitch Stephen. We're out of here. See you later, David. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.